There's a lot of roads we could go down with Mike Richards. Let's bring him in, the inimitable Mike Richards. Being the huge CFL fan you are, Mike, we're doing Grey Cup leftovers this week. What did you think of the 110th Grey Cup? All of it in your neck of the woods there.
Well, first of all, it was a game that I certainly did not see coming. If someone bet that way, then I wish I had your crystal ball. And congratulations, Mr. Kreskin. I have no idea how that game came to fruition, except to say that the CFL has always prided itself on its national championship game. And they certainly came through in flying colors in a way that I certainly did not see it coming. And quite honestly, like a lot of other CFL fans, look, it's a very regional league. We grew up with the team that we bleed for. I mean, and go across the country and put yourself in that category. However, the strangeness of this league, because we're so small and because of the country that we are, we also like to see the health of the league. It is always almost a paranoia just below the surface that we don't want to see teams struggle. And no one struggles more than football in the GTA. There is no more dangerous or painful area of football conversation and culture than what almost doesn't exist in Toronto. So the fact that they had a remarkable crowd, they had this thing set up to be just like the most amazing moment in a long time for this franchise, and it came crumbling down like Carrie when they dropped pig's blood on her at the prom. Like you couldn't have played a worse game if they tried in front of this massive crowd, a big TV audience, and it was devastating to me. Only that we need, as a league, Toronto to be viable and successful, and so for that felt like a hot poker right up the old hee-hoo. It was really awful to see, a nightmare.
Yeah. Well, hey, my friends are texting me going, God bless the CFL in terms of the unpredictability of it. And at least, Torontonians know the Argos are there because they showed up and they bought tickets. So, we'll get them next year. Welcome to Saskatchewan mentality, Toronto. We've only had it for 100 years. Hey, now I'm going to switch gears, Mike. I'm going to switch gears. See how we're good together? We switch gears to football here. NFL. Only 4 teams have never been in the Super Bowl in the NFL. 4 of them. Detroit, Cleveland, Jacksonville, and Houston. They all have winning records here at U.S. Thanksgiving and are in a playoff spot. Do you see one of those 4 making it to the big game? You talk about betting. Detroit, Cleveland, Jacksonville, or Houston.
Well, I never would have thought I'd say this, but I think the Lions have a pretty good chance of getting there. They have all the things that they need, and they've never had for you. I mean, look, I have diehard Lions fans who just live in a cloak of sadness, and you've had one of them on, Bruce Dobigan. Bruce Dobigan is one of the hardest hardcore Lions fans I've ever known, and he said that he has switched teams. I go, good year to do that. You might want to rethink that one. Now, look, you hear different names about Jared Goff. He's like Goffle, or is he going to be Gothsome? Like, it really does depend. But I do think when you've got, Amon-Ra, I can't believe that's the first name. I'm sorry, folks. That probably wasn't, my son's name is Jordan. I didn't see that one coming. But when you look at St. Brown and what he does, if they'd used Laporta a little more, I don't know why they wait to the fourth quarter, but they have Montgomery, they've got Gibbs. They have a lot of tools, and they can stop people, and they've got a head coach, quite frankly, who gets it. And you got to go down a long list of many head coaches who didn't. I love Trevor Lawrence. I like to see what Jacksonville does, but I don't see them necessarily in a game that means something and counts. I think I'd probably go certainly ahead of Houston. Houston, nice story. C.J. Stroud, a great story. Cleveland, look, they've always been able to play defense. I just think if you're telling me about that 4, I'm probably and incredibly going to say the Lions.
Gotcha. I love it. I love the analysis. And I also want your analysis of the 10-5-2 Leafs. And the reason we don't talk more Leafs here, number 1, I'm not a Leaf fan, never have been. Number 2, God knows there's enough coverage in Canada on them.
Yeah. But
I don't have yours. And I'm also not a fan. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have none. I've lived through this for years, even as a child when my uncle was the trainer of the team. My favorite player was Dave Keon, until I played goal. Then all I wanted to be was Mike Palmentier. And I played at a high level of hockey. I did. I played at a very high level. But this whole annoying conversation, it's like talking to someone who watches a soap opera that doesn't change for like 35 years, and there's evil twins, and wives come back from the dead, and kids who are 5 years old go to Switzerland, they come back next year, and they're 18. These are stupid stories, and they never change. It goes on forever. What do you mean Victor Newman's getting married again? Of course he is. He's Victor Newman. This is the Leafs. The Leafs are the Y&R, and it's but except the Y&R I kind of like. I got to like Victor Newman. There is nothing enjoyable about having a Leaf conversation. I want to talk about
Nikki was hot.
Until I see them in a conference final, we have nothing to talk about. We have, and I don't mean the Stanley Cup. I'm just saying a conference final. Because guess what? Here's your nightmare. So no matter what they do during the regular season, I got to admit, I can't have that conversation. But at least people would say at the end of last year, well, at least we don't have to deal with Boston again. Whoa! And there's Boston now, gets out to another. Why? So you have to ask yourself in professional sport, well, what are they doing? Did they have some incredible offseason? We're like, wow, look at all the players they got. No. So start dissecting it. It's that thought process in sport. And I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier on in the show that is always a conversation that just, it's just a little below the surface. Those that you put the question, are people embarrassed to say that they like the CFL or that they follow the CFL? Those that would fall into that category aren't football people to me. Real football people understand the conversation is this. It is a process in this continent to be a professional football player. The ultimate goal being in the NFL. Okay, whatever arguments you want to put beyond that, if you don't accept that, then we can't have a conversation. The NFL is Lord and God in that sport, in the world. Anything that's a little short of that is simply a process in trying to get there. We have a league in the CFL, which I love, and I have followed and gone to games since I was 8 years old and continue to do so because I love the style of football. Like I like the style of football in college, like I like the style of football if I watch a CIS game or coaching high school football. What I don't do is make comparisons on what I think is better because that is idiotic, it is moronic, and I've never known a football person at any level, and I'm talking all the way up to conversations with Marv Levy or Joe Theismann or Brian Kelly, who's now at LSU. I have conversations my entire career about football, and you know what? Brian Kelly. So when he's at Notre Dame, we have one of the most interesting conversations because I start talking about the Cégep system in the province of Quebec. And this is after the show, after the interview is on. And he's like, well, what's that all about? I said, well, for the most part, all those Cégep and all those Montreal and Quebec kids, they have a pipeline right down to the U, right down to Miami. He's like, they do? It's like his eyes. He goes, well, tell me more about this this football program in you're pronouncing it Quebec? Yeah, Quebec. He didn't say, well, why would I entertain a Canadian football player? Why would I entertain something from a Cégep? Why would I entertain someone from Le Rouge et Or? I don't even know what that means. Why would I have this conversation with you? Obviously, it's got to be poor football. No, because that's not a football conversation among football people. So if you're a CFL hater, I just think there's an immaturity about it. I'll be honest. You're just not a very sophisticated football person if that's your conversation.
It's an ignorance. CFL is it's authentic, clearly unique. It's honest. It's all those things. And if you don't like that, you suck. And by the way, you want to talk about place names? You want to get into that? I did have a physical yesterday. They said, where were you born? I said, Regina. Regina? No.
Yeah.
Never, ever gets old.
Yeah.
Never.
No, it doesn't.
After all this time.
Okay,
also, Mike, I gotta go.
Very excited. I got to tell you, the college football playoff, very big on my mind. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'd like to see Bowers back in a Bulldog uniform. I didn't know if he's coming back, and he is one hell of a player. I still think Oregon is probably going to get in there because they are better than the Huskies. They should have beaten them, but it was some bad coaching, which I don't like to say, but Oregon should have beaten the Huskies. I feel bad for Florida State losing their quarterback. And, of course, the big games this weekend in Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, this is, again, great football. No comparisons, idiots. Yeah, but they probably couldn't beat. Shut up. Shut it. Shut up. I'm just going to watch
I
football.
know. That's when you stop. That's when you stop listening to those people. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you.
Thanks, pal. Always great. Always great.
The great Mike Richards joining us from the GTA.